Welcome to the Warren Files, presenting true insights and experiences from the paranormal world, with your host, Chris McKinnell, Director of the Warren Legacy Foundation for Paranormal Research.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Warren Files. I'm your host, Chris McKinnell, the Director of the Warren Legacy Foundation for Paranormal Research. Today, we're joined by another one of my foundation colleagues, Maria Alves. Maria is constantly moving back and forth between Portugal and Brazil, doing wonderful work. Maria, thank you so much for joining us today.
Hello, Chris. How are you? It is a pleasure for me to, participate in this podcast and, share a little bit of my experience.
Well, you've got quite a bit of experience in a number of different places, and I'm really looking forward to talking to you about it. We're going to get into Umbanda and spirits and geomancy, but right now, one of the things that fascinates me, and it's certainly something that you have dedicated a great deal of your life to, is divination.
Yes.
Let's talk a little bit about that. What is that? Tell us a little bit about that and how it affects your life.
Okay, so I'm going to start by the beginning. I was, this might sound really weird. I was a little kid, and there were a lot of cartoons that I saw that were related to the elements. You have many different cartoons on the television. And my first contact with divination was through playful things. And I started to understand that there were 4 elements and that related to each other in different combinations, and those combinations had different results. So I was very interested in, divination, spirit world, those kinds of forbidden things other kids did not, notice or were interested in, but I was. There was a bookshop near my house that had a quite big shelf about divination, occult, and that kind of stuff. So I started there. I was about 12 years old, and I started my divination learning through the runes and the Chinese oracle I Ching. And that was my first experience with it. And I started to notice that there was something going on, because my questions were answered. My infantile questions, my immature questions were being responded, and there was a pattern there. I'm not saying that those questions were all accurate, the answers were accurate, but they started to make sense. And I developed from that when I went to high school. I had a friend that was into tarot cards, and she lent me her book, and I ended up to, buying my own tarot deck and started to learn. And then it all went crazy, because with tarot cards, there are 78 cards, and there's much more information. And they are so mystical, so mysterious. And there is some prejudice around them, because they have the devil card and they have those kinds of shocking images. So later on, I studied astrology, and I went to pursue other divination tools to this day.
So for people who don't know, what is divination?
Okay, divination for me, as my experience, has 2 faces. One face is the method, and the other face is the intuition. When you look at ancient traditions like astrology, palmistry, or geomancy, we are talking about something very primitive, where, for example, in astrology, men would look up in the sky and would see something very bright in the day and something very bright in the night, the sun and the moon. And those were the most visible, astrology things that he could see in the sky. And he started to study the movements. And because of that, now you have the equinox and the solstice and all those things we know about seasons and paganism and the wheel of the year. It was because someone was looking at the sky and saw a pattern in the behavior of the stars. And most of this knowledge was registered, and people start to bring up their own conclusions. There was no intuition or whatsoever involved in that. I don't know if the spirits by that time were inspiring men or in doing this. What I know is that men looked up and registered, and by then it understood that some placements correspond to seasons. At the same time, we were so primitive that we needed religion because everything was so amazing and so magical. And you have many, many different pagan traditions that rely on the seasons. You have the god of the harvest, you have the goddess of the spring and whatever and so on. So that's how spirit world entered the tradition of man looking at the stars. It is a very, very primitive thing. And by registering the movements and the combinations, soon enough, man found out that there are other planets, other stars moving in the sky, and we started to register the movements and the events on Earth. And some events repeated themselves as they go on. That's how men learned astrology. So there was no psychic ability whatsoever regarding astrology by then, because men could only look at the sky and register the event. The same thing as palmistry and geomancy were traditional methods that men developed, and they have specific rules. And if you use the divination tool and you don't know the method, you are not going to have an accurate reading. The other side of divination is the help from the spirits, and that's a reality, because the method itself, it works, but it does not have the depth that could have when you have, a spiritual friend, some kind of guide, some kind of inspiration to guide you in the right direction inside the method that you're using. So for me, it's a coin. Divination is a coin, the two-faced coin, where you must have both things: intuition, help from the spirits, and everything to get an accurate reading. And
With a good
some
understanding of the
people,
method.
what?
With a good understanding of the
With a
method
good
involved.
understanding of the method, because sometimes you have people that use some kind of divination tool, but they know nothing about spirit world, and they are good readers. And then you have that person which is, they say, oh, I'm only a psychic, and they don't have any tool and whatsoever. They say they feel spirits, they say they hear spirits, they say they sense spirits, they say they have an intuition, and the information comes out. But when you can pick up a bit of both, I think people can be more focused and help people with what they need to hear, with what the guidance they need, because they have, one thing supports another. The method supports the message from the spirits, and the message from the spirits clarifies the message in the method.
Absolutely. I've found in my personal life, when
Yeah.
I've used tarot cards to do readings, it only helped me focus my intuition and my own abilities. But it's also very similar to how prayer works, ritual works. It's
Yes,
when you
yes.
put the energy behind the focusing ritual. That's what
Yes,
makes
it's
it
absolutely.
much more powerful.
Yes, because it keeps your mind focused.
Exactly.
It
That's
keeps your
very
mind
interesting.
focused.
So there are many different schools of astrology too, though. I mean, there's
Yes,
Chinese, there's Mayan, there's European,
yes,
and they're all a little bit different.
yes. They are all a bit different. The astrology I practice was born in the Sumerian, nation. by the time. You had people looking at the skies in every corner of the world. People, I don't know much about, Chinese astrology as astrology looking at planets and stars and whatever. I know they have, they build time in a very different calendar that everyone else. So they have those zodiacs, and being, looking at the zodiac is not necessarily astrology. That is one of the faces of astrology, is the zodiac. But the real stars of astrology is the sun and the moon. Those were, the lights that shine in the sky. Those were that, and the planets. So those were the agents of astrology. People looked at the sky, they didn't see the zodiac. That came out later with the Greeks and etc. At first, I'm talking about really, really, really primitive uh, time, where people look at the sky and saw stars and the sun and the moon. That's the kind of astrology I know.
Fascinating. So you were telling me earlier about an experience you had at a fair, which I thought illustrated this point of yours very well. Could you share that with the people?
Okay, I was at a fair with a friend, and there was this lady there. There were many people. Some people read tarot cards. Some people read, palmistry. Some people doing astrology. Some people using pendulum. And this lady, she was using, she was casting bones, shells, and different, charms. And my friend went there to see her, and we were all very close to each other because it was a small space. And my friend was there, and she wanted the reading. The woman read the bones to her. She casted the bones. She read the bones, and the reading was amazing. The woman was spot on her situation. My friend didn't have to disclose many information about her. The woman seemed to know everything about her. And she gave her very, very useful information, mainly useful information. She gave her fair warnings about some issues in her life that were just amazing, mind-blowing. And I heard a little bit of that. And my friend, when she came out, she told me, look, this reading was amazing. You have to see the lady. And I was there with my husband. And I said, okay, let's go there. I want to know this woman. And I want her to read me the bones because no one has read bones for me before. And we went there, and our readings were really weird. They were not useful, they were not accurate. It was rubbish. The woman was talking to us and none of it made sense. I could not identify one thing she was saying, nor me, nor my husband. And we were very disappointed. And my friend was, very happy. So as me and my friend, we have both a connection to spirit world also. And later on, some days after that, our spirit guides told us one very interesting thing because we were, complaining about the reading. Oh, your reading was so good, my reading was so bad. And then spirits clarified a very, very interesting thing to us, which is in the energies world, in the spirit world, and in the material world, you have people that read, oracles, use their tools to, to talk with the person. And there is the question of the method. The person knows what she's doing. And the woman also had her guides, okay? And for example, Chris, this is what the spirit told me. If I'm going to do a reading for you, there is a higher law that indicates if I have or if I have not spiritual permission to look into your situation. I may have not spiritual, permissions. I may not be allowed by higher laws to look into your past, to look into your present life, to look into your future, or to give you the answers you want. It's very, very complicated. It's not that simple because there is the matter of the need, the real need. Some people come to me, oh, Maria, can you do a reading for me? I want to know this. But the real need of the person is not about that issue, is about another thing. So there is a higher law that discloses the information. It's not that the reader was not competent, because I was telling, oh, that woman is not competent, she doesn't know what she's doing, your reading was so much better than mine, how is this possible? So they clarified that to us. She was not a scammer. She was not a scammer at all. She simply didn't have permission to look into our lives. The information we wanted, the information about us, was not disclosed by spirit world to her. So she relied on the method, but she didn't have the connection. And the result was a complete disaster. That's what happened.
That fascinates me, and it makes me think,
Yeah.
because I have had, obviously I know thousands of psychics.
Yeah.
And I have never, none of them have really ever been able to read me well. I've had many different psychics try to astrally project themselves to me, try to read me, and they never can.
Yeah, sometimes it's a matter of need, the real need, the spiritual need, and the permission. That might be from different reasons. Imagine your spirit guides are very, very strict about what they want to disclosure. And a medium or a spirit guide of other medium comes and says to your spirit guides, Chris, I want to know, I want to disclose this information about Chris. And let's say, for example, your guardian angel, it's what most people understand. It's like your guardian angel says, no, you are not going to disclose this because I need to protect this information. It's not everyone's business. And I don't want Chris to know about this. Imagine that.
That's kind of how I always thought of it, yeah. The shields were up, and I figured it had to be my spirit guides making sure that nobody could get through.
Yeah. Sometimes it's a matter of permission. It's not that the reader, if it is someone working with divination or a medium or a psychic, it's not they are not competent. It's not they are they may not be a scammer. They may be genuine. They may be genuine, but people have to understand this regarding information given by spirits. It's not all about talking about the future or disclosing information that is not known. You read that in the Bible and everything else. Oh, the demon, the spirits speak information that is not known. Okay, I think that by now everyone knows spirits do that. But when you talk about evoluted spirits, they will respect the rule of something that is not going to be disclosed. And information that's not to be disclosed. Yes.
Given the work that I do, it kind of makes sense that they have a lot of walls up around me.
Yeah. For example, when people play with an Ouija board, some people use that for, playful things. Some people try a more serious approach. But the thing is, if you connect yourself to spirits, everything can come through. A spirit can speak a lot, but is it going to be true? Is it going to be a truthful information? Because it's like people lie. Why would not spirits lie about someone's life or a special event that happened or will happen? That's the danger about it, because people get fascinated and they love it.
Which brings me up to a good question. How do you know what spirit you're speaking with?
Yeah, that's a difficult one, because when you're a psychic and you have your guides, there is a connection, and they will always be true to you. They will always, give you what you need regarding information. Sometimes you need some information, you want that information, and they won't give it to you because you have no need to know that. It's just your desire. Your real need is not there. And their job is to protect you and guide you. And there are many characteristics. Spiritualists developed some of these rules for people that want to know a bit better. Alan Kardec, he disclosed some of this information, but for all I can say is that a spiritual message, when it's genuine, it's, first of all, it's true. It can be verified most of the times. It's universal. It works for me. It works for you. It works for our neighbors, and it's timeless. It's a timeless message. It's true yesterday, it's true today, it will be true tomorrow. And there are other rules, but normally the truthful spirit, this is the key. If people, to mediums and people that can pick up information from spirit world, and you're like a radio, you pick up a lot of things, a lot of different frequencies, and it's like when you turn on a radio, you don't want to listen all kinds of music, so you don't want to listen to all kinds of spirits. And if a spirit is truthful, he's going to give you an useful information, because you can have a low frequency spirit telling you the truth. Hey, Chris, there is a bug on your shoe. Okay, there is a bug in my shoe. How is that useful to
Exactly.
me?
Now, you
It's
just
true.
mentioned Alan Kardec. He
Yeah.
is an incredibly fascinating man. He was a Parisian from the mid 1800s, if I recall correctly.
Yes.
And he actually was a professor, a teacher, who
Yes.
was dragged into the spiritualist movement and then had a transformative experience. Can you tell us a little bit about him?
Yes, I can tell you a little bit about him. At first, he was a very, very, very skeptical man. And as you said, by that time, people were, participating and being witness to very, very strange phenomenons. Tables that, lifted up in the air, people that talk to spirits, knocks on the woods and the doors and everything. Spirits were invading Earth by that time. Invading.
Right.
It was an invasion, an organized invasion. And there were mediums everywhere, children, old men, the rich, the poor. There was no discrimination regarding mediums. Everyone was feeling it. So he was dragged by some people that believed that there was some intelligence behind the message. And at first he thought, no, this is not possible. This has to be a natural phenomenon, because he did not believe in the supernatural. So he used the scientific method to prove or disprove the communication with spirits. He was trying to prove that there were not spirits. That's what he tried to prove, because he thought it was not true. People were just believers and there was nothing to it. But in time, in his own method, he got trapped in his own trap, because he said there is no coherence if there is no intelligence. Okay? And if you tell the spirit, okay, one knock for yes, two knocks for no, and he was testing the knocks were intelligent. So there must be something to it. At first were knocks, and then were people writing with the pencil, and in the end there were people speaking. There were spirits speaking with the voice of the reincarnated people. So that was not enough for him. So he started to use the method. He asked the same questions to a bunch of different mediums in different places of the world. And the answers were the exact same or very, very similar. For example, he asked, what is God? And the spirits responded, God is love. God is love in action. God is universal love. God is light and love. They were all similar. So it was the same idea working through different mouths. So by then he knew that was something more to it, and developed through there till today. People spiritualists are still investigating the spirit world, because those were the first answers. Those were the first answers. And I say this to everyone I found. People may have their religion, all religions deal with spirit world. All of them. There is not one religion in this world that does not deal with spiritual as to his own way. But I think that the message he brought in is not a religious one. It's a natural one. It's a scientific one, because one thing that Alan Kardec disclosed is that paranormal events, paranormal things are not truly paranormal. They are normal and natural if you know the law. If you know the spiritual laws, paranormal does not exist. What exists is normal between the laws that we don't know yet.
I just had this exact conversation yesterday.
Yeah.
That the paranormal is only those things that we are not yet able to define scientifically.
Yeah.
But they are still part of the natural and normal world.
Phenomenon. Yes. Yes, they are.
So Alan Kardec wrote some wonderful books. Can you mention those for the people so that if they want to learn more, they can find those?
Okay. So Alan Kardec wrote he wrote the books that spiritualists called the codification, because those were the first books that in time gave birth to all the literature that there is today regarding spirit world. If someone, regardless of the religion, they want to understand spirit, my recommendation is to read about Alan Kardec, because without it, we are in the dark. That's what I see. So Alan Kardec started to write. I mean, he did not. I need to say this. He did not write. Two little girls wrote. Two mediums, two little girls. If you see the movie, there is a movie now about him. It's two little girls. He developed the method. Yeah, it's on Netflix. He developed the method. He was like an interviewer to the spirits. He made the right questions. But the girls, the spirits used the girls and other mediums, because they were not just the baby girls, it was other mediums as well. Spirits gave the answer. He compiled the answers and he made the books. And he used a name he had in another reincarnation. Spirits told him, your name in another reincarnation was Alan Kardec, because you were a Druid priest. So the name Alan Kardec is not his name, his true name, in that time. He had another name. Alan Kardec is the name of the Druid. So here you see the continuously search for light and enlightenment of this person as a spirit, because in that day he was a skeptic using a scientific method, but in another reincarnation he was a Druid priest, relying absolutely on spirit world. So this is very interesting. So he wrote, the first one is the Book of the Spirits, which is a book of questions and answers, like what is God? What are spirits? Are they good? Are they bad? How do they manifest? Do they reincarnate? Can they possess someone? Can they speak to someone? Why does this happen? Why are some people bad? Why are some people good? How can God be love, light, and be the most just thing on this universe if a child born sick and poor in one country, orphan, loses his parents, grows up sick, diseases, and he's poor, and it's a disgrace. And God allows another baby to be born in a golden crib, in a family that loves him, full of health, with no medical issues. How can God be fair with two children born in such a different condition? This is one of the questions he asked. And the spirits responded not by these words, but something like, if you look at an individual as someone that lives his life and reincarnates, you have cause and consequence, because the primary cause of everything is God. If you eliminate the consequences, you get to God. But then he created spirits, ignorant, simple, and with the thing called free will. So you get to choose what you do, and then there are reincarnations. And when you reincarnate in this earth, you are, experiencing the consequences of previous choices. So the child that is born in disease and poverty may have been a king in a previous reincarnation that not took care of his subjects and made them, no food, hungry, disease. It did not protect his own subjects. So nowadays, he experiences the pain he caused to millions of people. And then you start to see things a little bit differently. This is one of the examples of the answers spirits gave to Alan Kardec that is in the book, the Book of the Spirits. And then you have another book he wrote after that, which is called the Book of the Mediums, because there was a need to clarify that not all psychic is the same. You have many different psychic people. So the Book of the Mediums is like a guide for psychics. Some people hear, some people feel, some people see, some people this, some people that. And that book, it's like a guideline to understand the medium and the method they should use to communicate with spirit world. There is also another book. I don't know them all, by head right now, but there is another book called Heaven and Hell. It's a compilation of communications with different spirits. Since the vengeful spirit, that he's in the very low frequency, very sick, very ill, very revolted, that kind of spirit you get when you go to a haunting, is that kind of spirit you see, till that spirit angel-like. So heaven and hell registers the communications of spirits in different kinds of, happiness. When a spirit is happy, truly happy, he is free from a lot of his karma. And when a spirit is unhappy, he's suffering the consequences of his choices,
Right.
bad choices.
Because karma is merely the connections we make in life. It's the things we can't let go of.
So you see a clarification in Heaven and Hell about demons. What is a demon? Did God really create demon? What is a demon? So you get to see that God didn't really create it, something that was pure evil. That does not exist. What exists is choices people make, spirit make as an evolutionary creature that led to ignorance.
It's funny you say
Demonic
that.
is ignorance.
A Dominican friar, or Dominican priest, excuse me, former Dominican priest I was interviewing recently, said that according to Catholic doctrine, nothing that is 100% evil can exist. That even the devil has something good in him, or it would cease to exist completely.
Yeah, of course, it would destroy himself.
I find that fascinating. And people who want to learn more about Alan Kardec, his name is spelled Kardec.
Yeah.
Now, just to switch gears a little bit here, another thing that you are a practitioner and a student of is Umbanda, Umbanda, which my understanding is an Afro-Brazilian religion.
Yeah.
Can you give us an introduction to that, please?
Yeah. So when in slavery time, when the slaves were brought up to Brazil, what happened is that you had a shock of cultures. Okay, you had the African traditions, you had the Brazilian shamanism, and you had the Catholic people. So all these three religions collapsed with each other. And naturally, there was a share to each one of them. I can share with you, you can share with me. Some things are alike, some are not. And they transformed each other. So that's the embryonary state of Umbanda as we know today, because the Indians with, the Africans and the whites, all the traditions mixed together, the traditions started to change because they start to learn with each other. The syncretism started because, the Africans could not adore their gods as they wanted. So they had to adore the Catholic gods, the saints, and they ended up making a correspondence between them too. And I was talking about the Spiritism, and one day after that, one day, a spirit, a very strange spirit, um, manifested in a spiritualist reunion, an Indian spirit, and spiritualists were used to speak with, spirits of former doctors, writers, artists, people that were, respected and educated. They talked also with other kinds of spirits, but the main messages, they were used to educated, and I'm going to say educated spirits in a frame. And the other mediums were a bit scared because this spirit spoke in a very savage way, very different way, and they immediately thought it was a low-rated, spirit, low-frequency spirit. Oh, it is a savage. He's ignorant. We need to work out this. This is not right. But the spirit kept coming, and some of the mediums had, the psychic sight, and one of them could see the spirit as an Indian, another man could see him as a priest. So we were looking at two different images of the same creature, of the same spiritual individual. This means two different reincarnations. Okay, one as a priest, another as an Indian. And in his words, the spirit says that now Spiritism had this path of literature. So if you want to learn spirit, you had so many, books written, Alan Kardec and all the others that came after that. And by this time in Brazil, you still had many people that could not write, that could not read. So ignorance still existed. Not only spiritual ignorance, but also ignorance as we know it, that people cannot read, cannot write, do not have access to the information that the other people had, and had a more simple language. So the mission of the spirit is to bring the message of spirit world in a simple way. So the word Umbanda was the spirit that brought into this world and spoke about it. Because the mission of Umbanda was to bring a spiritual message, even for those who are ignorant, of simplicity. No need for weird clarifications and whatever. And the thing is, Umbanda started to be a message, but in a very, very short amount of time became a religion because this was an Indian. And remember the story I talked back then. So the Africans came to Brazil, the Indians were enslaved, the Africans were enslaved, the Catholic white man above them all. This was all a really mixed up thing. So that tradition was born of three different cultures, and you go to different, houses, religious houses of Umbanda, and every one of them is different because every single spirit guide practices the same thing in different ways. So it's not very easily defined. thing. What we know is that every single house has its own guides, has its own rules, but it is all the same, under the same light of love and understanding and helping people. Because in Umbanda houses, you have, the same slave that was enslaved, the same Indian that was enslaved, the same white man that enslaved the Indian. All those people in spirit world are now together helping people that are here reincarnated and need help and guidance. And it's very interesting because most people think that this kind of traditions, spirits are there for divination, purposes. This is the main error people commit. I did this error long time ago. I thought spirits were there to give me answers about what I wanted to know. Yes, sometimes they can, sometimes they cannot. It's all about our real needs, and it's not their business or their work to speak about the future of someone. Their business is to help us and guide us and protect us. That's the reality in Umbanda and every single different religion where spirit works, because spirits work in every religion. It does not need to be a spirit orientated religion. There are religions that have no business with spirits, but spirits still there because they are everywhere. Spirits are
Absolutely.
everywhere. They are everywhere. Either you believe them or not. If you go, if a medium could use his psychic sight to go on a laboratory of research of cancer, killing cancer, he would see, an entire team of spirits trying to help the scientists to go in the right path. That's what a psychic eye would see in a laboratory developed exclusively to heal cancer. That's what a psychic eye would see. So yeah, they are everywhere. So not only in spirit-orientated religions, even religions that don't have business with ghosts or spirits or the dead, they are there. They are there orientating and providing protection for everyone.
Now, Umbanda, it sounds very similar in origin to things like Santeria, Voodoo,
Yes.
Palamambe. These are all different religions that were caused by the African diaspora and enslavement.
Yes, it's
clashing with Christianity.
Different consequences. I would say that Umbanda, all the other African traditions regarding, different places where they came from, hoodoo, voodoo, Santeria, whatever. I like to say that they are different consequences of the same cause. The cause was slavery. And the this is very weird. The cause was slavery, and the consequence is a bunch of different religions. That is the consequence of slavery. That's what happened because the slaves came. People get to know their tradition, and the most important thing, they endured. We people, killed the slaves, but they live on. Their light lives on through those traditions. They, same as Indians. They try to exterminate, enslave them, but their tradition lives on in those religions.
Absolutely. There is another religion that's very popular in Brazil that I know you know a bit about, Quimbanda. Can you explain that? Because that's got a different orientation than Umbanda.
So I'm going to try to explain the way I see it, because I have never been in a religious house of Quimbanda. So I cannot say how they work, because first of all, they all work differently. Okay, they all work differently by the same similar things. So Quimbanda is, for me, it's a spiritual register, spiritual, vibration, where, because of prejudice and a lot of misconceptions, nowadays people associate Kimbanda with bad spirits, with hell, with I would say that Kimbanda is a spiritual place where spirits that are still in their evolutionary path, they get the opportunity to work. It's also the place where, shadow is. But where is shadow? If you think to be a shadow, there must be a light.
Absolutely.
So it's not all dark, it's shadow. So there's light in there. And that, I think, Kimbanda are the temples that work with that energy. But unfortunately, many people to this day think that they can control spirits through magic, through other things. So there are a lot of, witches and other people that are not in the tradition, but use the ritualistics of the tradition to try to control spirits. And that's where the problems begin.
There's a real
Because,
conflict there because the spirits are trying to control us sometimes.
yeah, because that does not exist, you know? People thinking, oh, I control spirits. Do you really?
Yeah,
Do
I've
you
never seen
really?
that happen.
No, it's the other way around.
You
So
can
that's a
work
bit,
with a spirit and they can
yeah,
help you, but you don't
yeah,
control their actions.
yeah, but they can also destroy you. Okay,
Absolutely.
so it's a bit complicated there because people have some misconceptions about that. And for what I know, it's the word that gives those spirits the opportunity to work and to do some good work to help someone out.
You made
Spirits.
you made an excellent point there, and I want to clarify that for people.
Yeah.
You know, working with spirits is dangerous, and if you're going to do it, then you should be learning through the methods to do it correctly. And that means become a practitioner of one of these religions. If that is truly your goal, is to work with spirit to do good work.
Yes.
If you're, I mean, there are wonderful mediums out there who work with spirit. Don't get me wrong,
Yes, there
and
are.
they know how to protect themselves. They are natural, and that's good. I'm not taking anything away from that, but I'm talking about the general public. If you're the kind of person who's fascinated by working with spirit and you don't know what you're doing, then the only way for you to do that properly is by learning one of these well thought out, well practiced traditions and learning that properly. You don't jump into it.
Yes, and most of all, there are many masters to different traditions, and not all masters are good.
No, they
It's
aren't.
not
There are too many big
because
egos.
the houses or the temples are, full of money, very famous. That does not mean that the practitioners do the right spiritual ethics. uh, by my advice for people that want to know more about spiritual and work with spirits is find someone humble. If you find someone humble, even if they are a bit ignorant about some things, I am absolutely sure that that person is protected by the spirit guides and higher spirits. Because when someone is arrogant or interested in money, you don't have the protection from spirit world as you have when you are humble.
You know,
So yeah, because that person may not know everything. All of us are ignorant in some
no
things. We
one
are
knows
always
everything.
learning. And if you go to someone that claims to know everything, be suspicious. Choose someone humble that has the heart to help you and guide you, not going after your money, not going after your fragilities, not creating a problem for them to have the solution. That is
You know,
very dangerous.
I say the same exact thing to my clients when I
Yeah.
say, look, you need to go to the church and you need to get a blessing if they're Christian. But I
Yeah.
say to every single one of them, find someone pious, someone who is humble. You don't want to just go to any priest. Most priests are just ordinary people. You need to find someone who has a true spiritual connection with God.
Yeah, that purity, because it's that light, that pureness that attracts the good spirits. You know, it's to be humble, to be simple, to be, to be able to hug the world, to be able to hug a monster. If you see that by the spiritualists, they work a lot with, when someone is, for example, possessed, and the spiritualists go and try to resolve the question. You have another great medium called Chico Xavier, and people were, possessed, and he calls the bad spirits, as per se, as other people would call the demons, he calls them the obsessors. And there was a lady that was desperate, and she told him, please, she could take this obsession out of me. And he says, and goes and says, how come you want me to put your, let's say, demon in the house of your neighbor? That's yours. It's your demon. You have issues with that spirit. You owe him something. He's angry for a reason. So when spiritualists deal with that kind of thing, they go in an approach of love and care. If you are going to expel, for example, let's say demon, and by demon I mean a very, very angry spirit for someone that is destroying someone's life, and you go there and cast them out, and you go, you evil spirit, you filthy spirit, you go away, blah, 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 what's your name? And okay, the method works. It works. But how can he not be coming back? So the spiritualists have this message of love. God is love. So they go to the possessed person. The person is there possessed, screaming, calling them names and whatever. And they go, hey, spirit, what's wrong? What happened? Why are you so angry? Why? What did this woman did to you for you to be so angry? Please talk to me. Please tell me, why are you here? And then things change, because then
are we talking about a human spirit or an inhuman spirit?
in this case a human spirit, of course. In this case, sometimes people go to churches because they have a spirit, and the priest goes and expels and whatever, and they gave the opportunity to the spirit to speak and to tell what happened. So that's the approach of the spiritualists, an approach of love and being humble, even before, when they are facing a very, very angry spirit, they go with love. That's the message. Of course, every different case has different approaches regarding the needs. When you are dealing with, I believe, with inhuman spirits, you need a totally different kind of knowledge, because the rules are pretty different. For what I know, the rules are pretty different.
Yeah, they are. I admire the approach of the spiritualists, and I understand it when you're dealing with the human spirit. You and I dealt with a case of a freed slave who had been murdered, and he was angry, and he was acting out. But by understanding him through some rituals that you taught me, we were able to get a team together to help him to feel that he was understood and to pass over. And thank you again for that. Honestly, it caused so much trouble. The whole situation was so difficult to understand until we were able to approach him with his own cultural context, instead of hitting him with Christianity, which, of course, for him was a representation of persecution.
Yeah, it was not. Yeah, completely.
This has been truly fascinating, and Maria, thank you so much for taking the time today and talking to us.
Okay.
I'm sure that everybody got a great deal out of it, and anybody who has any more questions, please leave them in the comments, and we will definitely have another conversation at a later time.
Okay.
And I hope you'll all join us again next week for another episode of The Warren Files. Take care, folks.
Thank you so much, Chris, for this opportunity. Sending love and light to everyone else. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.